turning our focus to the offense now. Michigan State, we all knew this is the worst pass defense in the country. Cliff threw it 34 times. Frank understands a snowstorm, but frankly, they should have thrown it a bit more. Now, like you said before we hit start on this broadcast, Kevon Lee did have a decent game. 79 yards and 15 carries, ripped off a nice 33-yard game, which kind of sadly was one of Penn State's best runs all season long. That tells you how porous the run game's been. But I would have definitely liked to see them throw the ball a bit more. What especially stuck out to me was it was 4th and 1. They just, I think they're looking to retake the lead after giving it back up. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to throw something short to Dotson or Parker Washington or maybe Brenton Strange, whatever. Instead, they pan it off to Kevon Lee. Mike Miranda the center gets pushed back a few yards, and Lee has nowhere to go. Now, I guess to be fair to the Mike Yursich, they did see Penn State had favorable numbers in the box. I think Sparty had maybe 6 people. So you would think in a 4th and 1 situation where Sparty is seemingly anticipating a short pass of some kind, you should be able to just run it up the gut, pick up the first down. So it's hard to blame Kevon for that one. That's probably falls more on the O-line. But again, I would have liked to have seen them try to get the ball into their best player's hands, and that's Jahan Dotson. So that stuck out to me. And just it seemed like they were trying a little too hard to establish a run. And I get doing that to keep a defense honest. But, again, this was a team, they were having success throwing it on them for the game. I mean, why they abandoned from it, I just really don't understand. I'm kind of lost for words.
Yeah, and it was something I said on Twitter early in the game. It's like, all right, you're Penn State. You have not run the ball all year. You're facing statistically the worst pass defense in the entire country, and you're trying to establish a running game. I didn't get it. It was mind-boggling. Like you said, in the second half, Michigan State won with a lot more their 2 deep safety split look, so it opened up what should have been running lanes. But, man, on that 4th and 1 that you referenced, just Kevon Lee never had a chance because by the time he got the ball, Mike Miranda was 4 yards in the backfield with the nose tackle driving him back. It's just there was nothing when that's the effort you get up front. I don't care if you have Barry Sanders or Saquon Barkley in the backfield. It's not going to matter. And too many times this year, that's what's happened for Penn State on 3rd and 4th and short is the offensive line just gets whipped and never gives a running back or Cliff or whoever it is a chance. And we saw that again today. Just again, like I said, what to me I think was most frustrating about this loss was it was so many of the same mistakes we've seen time and time again. No push from the offensive line, 3 and 4 man rushes getting home on passing downs, penalties at the worst possible times, not taking advantage of mistakes by your opponent. Just the things that have burnt this team and the things that have caused this team to go from being 5-0 and looking like they're about to take it to Iowa and establish themselves as a legitimate playoff contender to stumbling to a 2-5 finish with your only wins being Rutgers and Maryland.
And that kind of brings me to my next point. This reminded me very much, and I'm a bit of an older fan. I've been following a team for 30 years now, and this reminded me. I finally realized this reminded me of the 1992 season, and stop me if you heard this. Penn State gets off to a nice 5-0 start. They're ranked in the top 10. They play the number 2 team second weekend of October, and they lose a close one. That team goes on to finish the season 7-5. Their only wins being against a bad Pitt team and a mediocre West Virginia squad. So, and that team also had a stud receiver by the name of O.J. McDuffie, who went on to be a first-round draft pick for the Dolphins in the 93 NFL draft. So it's another – I kind of get vibes from that. Like similar to how the Miami game broke Penn State, I feel like that Iowa game, when Cliff got hurt, P.J. Musper goes down, a few other guys went down of injuries. It just – that the way they lost that game, when they looked like they were going to boat race them, and then Iowa just gradually comes back to win. And then, of course, the Illinois loss following, it just kind of felt like that just broke them, and they never really recovered from it. And here we are now, 7-5. Just thinking about what a lost season this was, feeling bad for Jahan Dotson. Like he deserved better than to go out like this. If this was indeed his last game in a Penn State uniform, now maybe he still plays the bowl game, but in this day and age of players who know they're going to enter the draft sitting out non-playoff or New Year's Six games, who knows? I guess we'll find out. So